Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out some real estate investing news and some new construction projects that are underway. I like checking out the website stories.com here, so we're just going to look at a bunch of different projects I've been following throughout the week. If you guys aren't following me on social media, I'm TheAdamFinch on just about everything. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I guess Twitter's X, TikTok, LinkedIn, Clapper, Red Note, Blue Sky. I'm on everything there. YouTube as well. We put out daily shorts and tips and tricks for the construction, on anything on to do on construction and real estate investing throughout Canada and the world, really. We've been delving into some projects around the world right now. This one right here, top of the page, so the Fairway Development projects near Keele and Bloor Street there in Toronto. So cool little project that I was checking out earlier this week. So Fairway Developments, they're doing some zoning changes right now. The one thing right now, this is currently a Tim Hortons is located here and a parking lot. So definitely rezoning it as a multi-story building and multiple different uses with commercial and residential as well on top of it. So Gabriel Fain Architects is doing this. They do some cool projects around the area. I think it kind of looks like a game of Jenga, but cool little covered balconies there. I like that. And then again, close to all different things like Go Station. And definitely we need some more housing in these areas. So we can talk about this right now. So 73,000 square feet total, 934 square feet of retail space. So taking what's there already, building on top of it. That's a big thing nowadays, right? We're running out of space in some of our inner cities. So being able to build vertical on top of a retail space or commercial space, great way. I just finished a project a couple years ago. They put a Starbucks on the ground floor and then a 20-story on top of it. So where you normally just have that one story, now we've got multiple. So indoor amenity spaces as well, gym, party room, common space, multi-use activity room, outdoor, another 721 square feet of patio for outdoor dining and children's play. That's a big thing I've seen. A bunch of projects in town here, some in Kitchener-Waterloo area, including those outdoor patios and the places for your kids to play. That way you don't have to worry about walking them down the street to a park. And you're downtown Toronto here. Parks are limited, so being able to have them in a safe, confined space where you live and not have to worry about them crossing the street as well. You don't have to get a little older. Talking about inside here, so we've got 99 condo units is what's proposed right now. 8 studios, 63 1-bedrooms, 22 bedrooms, and 8 3-bedrooms. That's a big bonus right there. I've seen that a lot in some of the projects that we're working on here, that the 3 bedrooms are coming back. I've been to a couple different design presentations for different condos that are going on. And that's a big thing that people do bring up is either the 3 bedrooms are kind of a flex space. We've got a couple projects where we've got the sliding barn doors or a sliding glass door because it doesn't necessarily have a window, but you can kind of use it as an extra living space. So that's good there. I always think this is always funny. 14 parking spaces, but 100 bike spaces. We've had some projects here in Waterloo region where they've been denied approvals because they had too much parking. Unfortunately, I mean, here you're downtown Toronto, you're close to transit, that's one thing. Here, and we've got projects up in North Waterloo that the city denied because there's too many parking spaces. But you're North Waterloo, if you transit is okay, but it's not, unfortunately here, Waterloo region, we weren't really designed for everyone to take transit with everything we've done here. But they're making it better, but we'll see. So once complete, much needed new housing. So obviously housing issues right now. So that's a good project right there coming up. Another one I've been looking at here is the Dream Office REIT. So they've got an existing building downtown in Calgary, 606 4th Street West. So they're getting an $11 million grant from the Office Conversion Incentive Program in Calgary. So So made in 1969, renovated in 2017, but obviously with the pandemic and everything that happened, and a lot of people working from home now, all of a sudden your office space isn't as high demand. And I know I was just reading an article recently from Toyota, and they were forcing everybody back into the office space. And one of the reasons was if nobody's using their office space, now commercial and office space values go down. And how many people are invested in the commercial and office space area, all of a sudden your investment is now worth nothing because nobody wants to go into work. So you can't just cut cold turkey now once all their investments are down the drain. So what they're planning to do here is their current space right now, 126,000 square feet. Right now they have an occupancy rate which is nice, 83.2% as of March this year. 11 tenants right there. The biggest one is the Canadian Western Banks. They're big out there. But most of them are 2 years. Their leases are for 2 years. So the next 2 years, they're going to plan on designing and getting all their approvals in place to convert this building over to residential. And then what they're actually going to do is move most of it to 44 7th Street, or 444 7th Street here. That's south of their current building. So they've got an underperforming asset right now, move people in from the better location that's better for residential. And now their weak performing asset is going to be improving with the tenants that are moving there. And obviously the added housing is a benefit for everybody. So there's just a building on the outside there. So a big thing is, right there, to improve the occupancy of their current building while creating a new residential building, thereby reducing the operational and financial risk of both buildings. So great opportunity. Figuring out which is the best use for each building, and obviously they've determined that the one that's got the 83% at 606 4th Street, that made more sense to do it. So in total, they're figuring up to $64.3 million that they're going to borrow, and then like they said, $11 million grant there. So a bit of money to invest, but they're using existing infrastructure. Obviously, one of the biggest things there, we've got a conversion project here in downtown Kitchener. And of course, one of the biggest things is figuring out where to locate all your washrooms, because obviously it's a lot of holes you got to start drilling through. A lot of times you've got a central washroom maybe on each floor or every other floor. But now you've got to add in dozens of washrooms per floor, so that's a lot more holes. So structurally, does it make sense, and where can you do it, right? That's going to depend on how many, bedrooms and washrooms you're going to be able to put based off of how many holes you can drill. So that's big thing that's coming up there as well. Some other news right here. So Canadian houses sink 10% year over year. So this is an interesting one, actually, talking about the housing right now in Canada. So we're talking March transactions down 4.8%. They're also down 20% from a recent high in November 2024 for Canada. I was reading an article recently about Montreal, and Montreal is actually up. Like Quebec was up about 10%, but Montreal is like 12% up. And on top of that, not only were home sales up, but the price of houses as well. And I think the average house price in the Montreal area is around 800s. And when you look at large cities between Montreal and Toronto, the fact that you can get something for under $1 million, that's a decent size. That's your average house. It actually makes a lot more sense to move to a place like Montreal. Now, obviously, some people don't necessarily want to go there because of the French language. But that's just something interesting that when a lot of markets are decreasing, Quebec and Montreal are actually going up. So that's something to keep an eye on, and just always knowing too, where are people moving to, what makes most sense financially and logistically to move there. So that's just something to keep in mind there on where everybody's moving to. And then we've got, let's check out some other news here. There you go. This is a big one here. Now it takes 6 years for Canadians to save for a down payment. Absolutely crazy. I think about myself. I was like 17. Well, I had my first job when I was like 15 at McDonald's. By the time I was 17, I had a job at Frito-Lay here on weekends working. And I had enough money for a down payment from a house by the time I was done college. At like 22 years old, I had like $40,000 saved up. So it's pretty crazy now that it's going to take up to 6 years for that. And it took me just a couple years working part time while I still went to college um, as well. So the average cost, here you go, average cost of Canada has ballooned to more than 4 times. So it makes sense. My first house was about 200 and let's say about 250,000. It was a brand new build as well, 3 bedroom, uh, 2.5 bath, rough-ins in the basement. Yeah, brand new build, a garage, and with some extras, it was around 280,000 that we bought it, and then we were able to sell it 3 years later, about 3 years later, for about 360,000. Paid off my wife's student loans that she had for her nursing, paid off our car, and then we had our 40 grand down payment as well, plus a surplus of money to then go. Then we ended up buying an older duplex because we were expecting our second kid, so my wife was going to be off. We knew we were going to be behind, a couple $100 short every month from what her maternity leave was going to give her, and then we were able to buy a duplex and then go up from there. But yeah, crazy stories that's it, and it's true. So those houses right now are selling upwards of $1 million, and so that was 15 years ago. That's what the house prices have. Yeah, quadrupled in size there. So definitely not a good sign for if you're looking to buy a house. It just says right there, 6 years to accumulate your 20% down payment. Now, obviously, there are different rules in place, at least here in Canada. Depends on the province as well. For first-time home buyers, you can put as little as 5% down. Our first house, we only ended up putting 15% down. Our mortgage broker that we had helping us, he said to don't put all your money down because you're going to want to build a deck or a fence or buy some furniture. So we only ended up putting 15% down, but it was a smart investment for that property as well. So right here, so first home savings account, so that's happening here. So nearly 740,000 new accounts with an average of just under 4,000 by the end of 2023. So that was the first year, and now they've got rules too as well. So you can get houses up to 1.5 million with less than 20% down. So when you think about actually investment strategies, if you're looking to get into any sort of real estate investing, the fact that you only have to put 5% down, if you can treat it as as a primary residence, that's a good thing. Get in at 5%, especially if it's an older house. Do your renovations, take out a line of credit against it, borrow money from private. Even if you got to borrow money from private sources, you're only paying money on just that rental budget. You can renovate the place real quick, or even just take your time for a year or two, because you got to keep the house for at least a year if you don't want to pay capital gains if it's your own personal property. But from there, yeah, you can just flip it and sell it. So like I said, we did that. We held our first house for 3 years. We held our next one for about 3 or 4 years as well, and then now we're in our current house right now. So we made money every time, and then just kept saving up money to do, we do the kitchen, then we do the bathroom, then the other bathroom, do the basement, replace all your floors. And if you're doing it that way, then you've got time to look for deals, stockpile material. I remember the one year for Christmas, I think it was turning into 2017, but Rona here in Canada, they had a thing where like Rockwell insulation now was on sale for 20% off. Plus you could stack a 17% off coupon because the new year was 17% off your purchase. So I saved like $1,000, I think, on all my soundproofing insulation and all my exterior wall insulation and my sound or my comfort board as well. I always put the 1.5-inch comfort board against the wall. Then I frame in front of that. Gives me an R20 wall, so super warm. Helps with sound as well in your basements. But that's something I always do. But just thinking about that, like different strategies you have to be able to get ahead. Even if you can buy a smaller house, they say always buy the worst house on the street and then renovate that. So that's just something to think about. If you can get that house and only put the 5 or 10% down, renovate it. Especially if you got a friend too. So I was talking to somebody recently about that, and they were paying like $2,000 a month to rent. And I said, if you own this house, even at its current price, of like $700,000 to $800,000, your mortgage payment will only be about $3,600 a month, maybe max. Probably the interest rates have gone down though, so maybe you're like $3,400 a month. Depends on what you could put down. If you could get a friend as well, and you guys go splits on the property, you're saving about $500 a month. They're saving about $500 a month, and you've got an asset that's appreciating. So if you can kind of house hack together and split the costs of the house, and then make sure you always put things in place. Like in 2 years from now, if either one wants to sell, or there's a different things in place just there to buy out the other person. So just keep that in mind. All is not technically lost when it comes to buying your first house, and there are options out there. So just keep that in mind. There's so many different ways that you can get ahead in life and in real estate and buy, whether you're borrowing money from banks and lines of credits or personal loans. Lots of different options out there. Let's see what else we got here on the news here. And there we go. Office building near City Hall, $12.4 million, Abbotsford. Let's check that out here. So City of Abbotsford has acquired a large office complex. We talked about earlier here, I was just talking about commercial real estate. Well, here you've got the city buying up some office complexes just to... so right now they've got 2 legal parcels, and assessment values $10 million and $1 million respectively, so a total of $11 million. So there's still value in land, obviously. And okay, so they're going to provide over 84 additional office space there. So we talk about getting people back in the office. Again, you don't want your commercial real estate values to drop. So here we go. We got a city helping out with that by buying up a large parcel of land there and an existing building to be able to increase their office. And one thing, I know it's cool to work from home and all that, but I find it, because I work for a large general contractor here in Waterloo region, just the ability to be able to just go from person to person to person, because all their offices are next to each other, and collaborate in person and spit ideas off each other. It is very beneficial to be in an office with people every day. I mean, let me know in the comments here what you guys think about working from home, or if you work from home, and what your thoughts are on that. But yeah, here's a funny. So they say it's not clear why the city had to acquire the entire building if it only plans to occupy part of it. But yeah, again, rental revenue, that's an option right there. There are still people that need offices. There's still businesses that need spaces. May not need it as it used to be, or not as large of a space. You see grocery stores. We've got a Zehrs grocery store here that kind of shrunk, like took a kind of a third off the building. It's just kind of sitting empty right now. But they don't need as much space when you've got people doing, picking up groceries and delivery services for groceries. All of a sudden, you don't need as much space for people to come into. So you definitely want to be smart about what you're doing right now in commercial real estate, and even residential as well. There's a lot of different people who aren't necessarily looking to buy a house right now. I talked to my son. He's 16. And you talk to him, and he's, goes, why would I want to be in debt? Why would I want to buy a big house and all that? Why do I want to buy a car and have a car payment? So as the mindset of people start changing over the years as well, you got to keep that in mind. What is someone in 20 years from now? You go and buy an office building or an apartment building. You put a 50-year amortization mortgage on that thing, like you can get with some of these CMHC. In 50 years from now, is someone even going to want to live there? Is someone going to want to live in that area? Or are people going to want to be living remotely on the beach in Mexico? So definitely you hope that that people keep staying in the area, but things keep changing. We've got people pumping money into areas to build up housing, and all of a sudden we've got electric battery plants that all of a sudden they're canceling last minute. And shutdowns with some of the tariff issues that are happening right now, and all of a sudden everybody's scared of those areas. So you got to make sure that the area is going to be able to support people moving in there. Is there going to be jobs? But in the areas where some of the jobs may be limited, there was something about Jackson, Mississippi, where not a lot of people are living there because industry and work has gone out of there. And you see some of these smaller towns where that does happen, but are those places that you can attract some of these people that can work from home and they can all of a sudden get twice as much house than they could if they're living in the city? And on top of that, we've got these buildings, and if nobody's living in them and nobody's maintaining them, don't got climate control in them, mold starts growing in them, and nature starts taking them back. So we definitely don't want to have too many buildings that are left empty as well. So again, watching where you're going to build. Can you repurpose, like we just talked about what they're doing in Calgary there, repurpose some of the office space into residential in the downtown areas as opposed to building new towers and keep building the city outwards. And then the other area we saw there in Toronto, take down a Tim Hortons, build a tower on top of it. Tim Hortons can always go back in it afterwards. I've seen some places like that recently as well, where that has been the plan, where you build one building and then your commercial guys move into that from the neighboring property. Then you can tear down that building. So lots of different opportunities that are out there right now. Those are just some of the top headlines right there from stories.com. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you guys, where you guys are investing, what you're looking to invest in, what you guys think about some of these projects that are coming up. I mean, whenever I hear a new build's happening, I can't think that anything other than like that's great for the skilled trades workers in the area. And anyone looking to get into skilled trades, that's great as well, because they're obviously going to be looking to hire people to work on those projects. So just a couple projects there. I think it's a win for everybody overall. Obviously, we've got some ups and downs right now happening right now in the real estate market here in Canada, and a lot of questions on where we're going to be right now, how long these tariffs are going to affect us, and then as well what the future holds and where people are going to live. So, sound off in the comments. Give me a like, give me a follow, give me a share, and reach out to me on all social media platforms, and we'll see you next week.